Hello team, this is Les Bennett, Learning and Development Manager with the Stewart Restaurant Group. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your pump motor has gone out? It's completely dead, it's not working. You may have even gone in and tried to do the reset button on the motor and it still doesn't work. At this point, you're going to assume that the motor is dead and that you're going to want to replace it. Well, you may be correct, but there's also one more thing that we're going to want to check beforehand, and that's our pump motor relay. So what is a pump motor relay? It's simply a device that allows electricity to go to the motor. So obviously if this part goes out, the motor's not going to get electricity and it will not work. So in today's video, with the help of a voltmeter, I'm going to show you how to diagnose the problem. So where is our pump motor relay? Well, I've opened up the front control panel on the fryer. Now always being careful because we have over 200 volts of electricity flowing through here. But the pump motor relay would be this black box right down here that I'm pointing at. It'll have two brown wires going into the front of it. Then it's going to have a series of wires coming out of the back end. Alright, so as I begin to work on this, first thing I've done is I've turned the breaker off. Obviously we're going to be dealing with over 200 volts of electricity. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, if you're not comfortable with this, you probably should just call the electrician out. Now what I've done though, is I don't like unplugging and plugging the fryer in, so I use the breaker to turn it on and off. And what I've also done is I've gone in and I've taken the nut that holds the relay in and I've taken it out, and this has allowed me to take the entire relay out. I rather work on it out here rather than having to stick my hand in and out of here as I work on it. So now what I can do is I can turn the breaker off and on as I work on testing these different wires. Now to begin testing whether or not my pump relay works, I've turned the breaker off to the fryer so there's no power coming in right now. And I found the two power wires. In this case it's the white and the black one. And I know they're the power wires because if I follow them back here, they're connected to the fuses and then they come up to this contactor. Now the wires that go to the motor, they're going to run out through the back here. But I found the two power wires, and what I've done is I've disconnected them. I've hooked them up to my meter here. Now I'm going to go flip the breaker on, and when I do that, I should be reading in this fryer around 212 volts. Alright, I got the power turned on. As you can see, I have 211 volts. So this is a 208 volt store, so I always want to be around 208. So I know I have power coming into the fryer, and I have power going to the relay. So the relay itself is getting power. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the breaker off, then I'm going to connect these wires and we're going to test them to see if we're getting voltage from the computer. Okay, so now what I've done is with the breaker turned off, no power to the fryer, I reattached these power wires. And what I've done now is I've taken the two brown wires, which were connected here. And these brown wires, if we follow them back, they connect to our control board right here. So what I've done now is I'm going to attach these to my voltmeter here. And when I turn the power back on, with the voltmeter set to DC, I'm hoping to get about 12 volts. So what that's going to tell me is that when it comes time to pump, that there is voltage going to the pump relay. Alright, we got the power turned back on. So now what I'm going to look for is I've taken the brown wires and I've attached them to my meter here and I got set on DC. And what I'm looking for now is I'm about to go under here and I'm about to tell the control panel to start pumping oil. And when that does, it should send a signal to the relay to close the line, which will allow the electricity to flow through the backside. So what I'm looking for is about 12 volts DC. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell the control panel to start pumping. And there we go. We got about 12 volts DC. And if I tell the control panel to stop pumping, it turns off. So right now I know I have the right amount of voltage being sent to the relay. I know I have power coming into the relay. So if everything's working right, when the control panel sends the signal to tell the motor to start pumping, electricity should flow out of these back wires here, opening up the pump. So that's going to be the next thing we're going to test. Alright, so I flipped the breaker and turned the power back off. I reconnected these wires. And what I've done now is I've unattached the back wires. These are the wires that run to the motor. And in this case, I follow them up and they're going out right there. So I know if I have my fryer on that I have electricity coming in through these wires to the relay. And I know if the control panel, if I tell it to start pumping oil, it will send a signal, which then should close this relay, allowing electricity to flow out of the back. Now, if I was to test these right now, there'd be no power coming out of the back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the computer to start pumping, and the moment it does that, this relay should close and there should be electricity coming out of the back connectors here that these are attached to, and it should be sending electricity to the pump motor. So when this relay goes out, what's going to happen is you're going to have no electricity coming out of the back wire, so there'll be no electricity going to the pump. So let's test this out. So I have my meter set to voltage. I have the power turned on. So when I tell this fryer to start pumping, we should get some voltage coming out of these back connectors, which is where the pump motor wires would be connected to. $212 volts. So now I know that this relay is working. It is sending power out to the motor.